Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and today is scrap 5. So this is the recipe today. We need to use twine, stencil, have a grid design, use 3 or more word title, and get some washi on there. So I'm starting out with this white wood washed, I guess, wood grain plank in this collection. I really liked this kind of white light but very textured background. This page actually I wasn't going to scrapbook this page. These are kind of the extra photos I had. I've kind of already scrapbooked photos very similar to these, so these ones were kind of repetitive, so I wasn't going to scrapbook these 3. But once I got the recipe and realized I needed a grid design, and this is really one of the last pages I needed to make that was multiple photos where I could do a grid, I decided to go ahead and scrap it. I had enough products this month to be able to get this one squeezed in, and I'm really happy I did. I love how this one turned out. But you can see I'm starting off with 3 photos. I'm trimming down the 2 smaller ones. I really wanted this to be a grid design where you had the vertical 4x6 and the other 2 kind of stacked right next to it, and together it kind of made this square grid with the 3 photos. So I kind of like that idea. I wanted to do separate layering on each of the photos that all kind of coordinated and went together, but then for them to look like a cohesive block once I put them all down. So that was my goal. I knew right away though I needed to do some mixed media. I knew a stencil was in the recipe list, so I wanted to go ahead and knock that out. I've actually really enjoyed using gold this month with these products, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Nuvo texture paste and get that kind of soft gold on there with a plus sign stencil. I just did that in opposite corners. I thought that would be a really nice touch. And it's very soft. It's only really when it hits the light that you get that shine, but I really like how that mixed media looks, so I set that aside to dry. That way my stencil is done. I kind of already know I have my grid design, so that's done. So I'm already marking off things on my recipe. Now I just really want to slap a bunch of layers behind these 3 photos. And like I said, I definitely want to do the same types of layers on all 3 of these, but tweak them a little bit so each of them have a little bit of their own interest and they're not all super uniform. So I'm starting out with this wood grain plank scrap I had. I definitely wanted the first layer behind all of these photos to be the same layer and for them to go all the way around, and then from there I can kind of play with my layering and make it a little bit irregular. But I had enough scraps of the wood grain plank to mat all of them, so that was pretty much why I decided to choose that pattern paper. Everything else I kind of didn't quite have enough to fully mat all 3 of these photos. So I'm just going to get that done really quick. I am inking everything in black on this page. I really like the black distressing that's on the background. So I'm going to carry that through with black ink. So I'll kind of do that as I go, and you can see me pulling in a couple scraps I have. I have a scrap of this butterfly paper that was the perfect size to mat the larger photo. So I'm going to go ahead and have that be my second mat. But I am gutting that as well, so I have a scrap of that to use in my other 2 photo layering as well. But I wanted kind of a thicker mat with the butterflies so you could really see it. I love that pattern paper, so I definitely want you to be able to see that one pretty easily. Again, inking in black. And then I'll get that all glued together. I think I'm going to go ahead and just ink everything. I'm going to try not to forget to ink as I go. So I'm just going to ink all 3 of these. And my kind of grid design changes a little bit. I'm thinking I'll have the larger photo to the left here and the other 2 squared up to the right of it. But I kind of end up tweaking it as we go along. I had a lot of fun layering with these photos because I kind of just used the scraps that I had, and I kind of made sure each paper was represented around each photo. But once I got done with the paper layers, I was kind of stuck embellishment wise. I have a lot of embellishment to work with, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I want all these pages to look cohesive, so I'm trying to use the same types of techniques and stuff so that all of these pages go together really nicely in my album. But I kind of wanted kind of needed inspiration to pull something kind of new into the clusters and do something a little different, just because I don't want every page to look identical. So as I was working on this page, the Scraptacular Cropping Club, I love them so much. They have weekly challenges. Desiree runs it. She does a lot of like classes, and shows a lot of different techniques, and I used to do their challenges, their layouts every single week, and I just haven't had time for a while now since I started doing more collaborations and stuff. But I saw that they were doing a crop while I was creating this page. So, and it was a class about making embellishment clusters and specifically using scraps to make those embellishment clusters. Sorry, Billy found his toy again. Billy, please stop. I love you. He looks so confused. I'm sorry. Don't squeak during the voiceover. But yeah, so I was kind of doing these paper layers while I was waiting for the class to start. And once the class started, she kind of showed us how to create 4 different types of embellishment clusters using small paper pads or scraps and stuff like that. And I just thought it was perfect. It couldn't have come at a better time. Because I really needed something to help me finish this page. So I ended up using 2 of her kind of class ideas to do that. But before I get there, I'm just going to finish with these clusters. And again, continuing to ink. I'm just shoving little bits and scraps of what I already have behind all of these. So I pulled in that navy scrap for a little bit. The scraps of the butterfly paper I gutted from behind that big photo I added. Billy? Leave it alone. He's really insisting on playing with his toy right now. Billy's doing fine, by the way. Thank you everyone who's asked. If you don't know, Billy had his tail amputated because he had a cancerous mass on it, but he's doing wonderful. So thank you everyone who's been asking about him, who was aware of that. But he's doing great. It was grade 2 mast cell tumor, which is cancerous, but we got it all, so he is good to go. I just have to keep an eye out for more of them popping up, but he's doing fine. But yeah, I think I'm almost done with my paper layers. I've pretty much used all the scraps from my collection, but I'm kind of wanting one more layer that kind of ties again all of these back together. So I go through my stash and pull in some vellum with some black hearts on it. You can see I tried a couple different options. This is the newsprint pattern. I had a scrap of that I wanted to use, but I didn't really have enough of it for it to do what I wanted. But I kind of decided once I pulled in the heart vellum that would be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do one final mat on all 3 of these photos with the heart vellum. And again, I'm going to ink that in black, and then I will kind of move on. But you can see once I get all of these laid out, I do like how they look in a squared off grid, but it kind of looked too expectant. And once I made my embellishment clusters that I was going to use, I thought it would be really cool to offset the grid a little bit. So you'll kind of see where I tweak that and kind of shift them a little bit so they're not completely squared up. But yeah, that was just my thought process. As of right now, I'm still thinking I'll have them squared up, but it kind of did put me in a box as far as doing some embellishment. And sometimes when you have everything too square, it can just look a little bit too boring. So offsetting the grid really helps me kind of get out of that. But I don't think I realize that until I make my embellishment clusters in the Scraptacular Cropping Club class. And then once I have those, they just fit better by offsetting the grid, and that's when I kind of decide to make that change. But just trimming up this vellum, I love this heart vellum so much. Allie may have sent this one to me, but I know I have found it myself before. I think it was I want to say it was Hobby Lobby where I found it. Sorry, Billy's sitting next to me panting. He's being very needy today. If you hear him panting, he's going to be in this voiceover a lot. But yeah, just trimming that up. But I love this vellum. I originally bought it the first time because I thought it would go great with Flissy Jane collections, which it does. But it's versatile enough where I feel like it can go on any page, especially this where I'm pulling in touches of black and texture and these soft layering details. I really like it for that. And again, I gutted a chunk of it that was going to be behind the larger photo just because that was too much for me to want to cover. And then again, inking in black. But this is pretty much all the paper layers. I'm liking how all the layers are looking around the photo. Now I kind of need to decide embellishment wise. I think I'll pull the background in for a second just so I can see spatially what I have to work with. But But as I'm kind of doing this, waiting for the class to start, Desiree had given us all of the ingredients we would need to make these little embellishments. So I was kind of trying to, to think about if I had all of that on my desk too. Billy? He's like shoving his head over the desk and pushing my phone away. Yeah, all right, dude. But this is one of the things I wanted to make while the class was getting started. So I knew for homemade embellishments, at least, I would probably want to use a tag as a background for one of them. So I'm just pre-making this portion of a tag to hopefully have ready by the time class starts. And fortunate enough for me, the first embellishment cluster that she made involved the tag. So I'm not going to explain really everything she taught us or kind of told us to do, just because I think that's a perk of being a part of her Facebook group. It's free to join if you're a scrapbooker. It's just called the Scraptacular Cropping Club. It's a wonderful group of ladies. But yeah, I don't want to kind of walk through what she did, because I think that was kind of a perk of being a part of the group, was learning that. But you'll be able to see me put it together. I'm pretty much just making a handmade embellishment with what I have on my desk. I do pull in like a punch, and one of the things she suggested for handmade embellishments were like confetti type pieces, like word stickers, and like enamel dots and such. But I've been using that in this kit anyways, so that's something I probably would have pulled in regardless. But I do still have my gold brads to the side of my desk that you'll see on a couple pages this month that I got at a thrift shop, so I'll pull those in too. You can see I already set out my title as well. I've been loving this gold puffy title this month, and I don't think you will have seen the page yet, but I did already do a page titled Love You. But I needed a 3-letter word for this sheet, this layout, and I'm kind of running low on thickers in that alpha set, but I had enough to spell I love you if I used a 3 for the E, so I ran with it. At this point, I had forgot I already titled layout love you, but they're engagement pictures and layouts, so it's fine. I can have more than one page that has the love you sentiment on it. So kind of setting everything out, I think I might need, you can see I set out some wax seal stuff. I thought it might be cool if I did a marbly blue and white wax seal on this layout, but once I make the 2 embellishments that I'm going to make from Desiree's class, I end up deciding not to do that. So you do see that set out on my desk. I might get that on a page this month, I'm not sure. But I was just trying to get everything ready in case it was something I wanted to do. You can see I also pulled in a bunch of different coordinating washi because washi was in the recipe. And now that I know for sure I'm going to have a tag embellishment, I know that for sure there will be twine, which was the last recipe item, because I'll want to thread some twine through my tag. So that's just kind of my thought process. I think at this point I've got all my recipe items covered and accounted for. I just have to get them on the page. This is where you can't see my phone because it's off to the side, but I am on Zoom in Desiree's class at this point. So she started going through making embellishments, and so I was just playing along and kind of sticking this together while she was teaching everybody. I'm thinking this will tuck in at the top of the larger photo as an embellishment cluster, and then that maybe I'll do an embellishment cluster to go underneath the 2 smaller photos, so it'll have kind of this diagonal flow. I also have these cute little Denise charms from Felicity Jane, so I thought it might be cute if I could pull one of those in on this little embellishment cluster too. I played around a lot with this twine. I wanted to thread it through the tag normally, but every time I went to put the little Denise charm down, I thought it would just look better threaded through the twine that's around the tag. But then every time I tried to thread it through the twine and wrap it around the tag, it just looked weird. So I decided to not do that and thread some separate twine through the little charm and have that as a separate element. And then I went ahead and dumped a bunch of brads on my desk just because I knew I would use those at some point. And now I'm just sticking things down, really just trying to layer a couple things. I know I have this bluey background, so I thought it would be nice to pull in one of the blue flowers from the embellishment pack. So I definitely have a blue flower on here, which I'm going to pop up on some foam. And then the darker green leafy bit, I'm going to layer behind there too, but I don't think I've done that just yet. I'm just trying to get this twine and this charm figured out because I go back and forth on that a lot, but I do like how it's looking. It came together pretty quickly. I was trying to work as fast as she was working so I could kind of stay caught up, which I did do for the first two embellishment things that she made, and then I kind of stopped to finish this page. By the time I was on the next page, I kind of got behind, but I can still go back. I remember her making those embellishments, so I can still go back and do it. But lots of good ideas that she had to make homemade embellishments, and it really lent itself well to using scraps and small paper pads, which I know a lot of people are always trying to find ways to use. But I got that flower on there, got that little leafy bit tucked in. I got my charm, and I'm going to add a little brad next to the charm just so it has a little friend. I think that looks really cute, them tucked together. And then I'm just thinking, because I am incorporating one brad on this tag, that once I do stick it down to my page, I'll probably have a couple more gold brads next to it just so it all kind of flows together. I thought I was done at this point. I love that gold word I incorporated that says everything. And this charm does say friend, which some people might be offended on an engagement photo because obviously your fiance is more than a friend. But Marcus and I always kind of say that the biggest compliment for each other is calling each other our best friends, because it just seems, you know, not all, as much as it's sad as it is, not all husband and wives are each other's best friends, and we are. So I think friend is a sweet charm to have on here, even though it's engagement related. So that's just why I want to mention that, why I use that charm on this page. But yeah, I thought that everything was a nice thing to add. And then since washi is on the recipe, and Desiree did recommend using washi to fill in and add some more layery bits, I did just go ahead and use that white and black butterfly washi to beef that out a little bit. But this is where I kind of change around the photos, and then once I get this tag on the page, I realize I will like it better. It'll stand up a little better and look more layery if I add a glassine bag behind the tag. So I'm just adding that now. I like that extra layer, that extra detail. I think it beefs up that little cluster to be the perfect size. But now I'm trying to play around with proportion, and you can kind of see how it looks kind of odd with that grid being squared up. It doesn't leave me a lot of space for having a cluster on the bottom of the page, and then there's this kind of awkward gap in the upper right hand corner where I've adjusted to have the tag. So this is where I decide to offset my grid and shift those two pictures up, and that gives me some more room on the bottom of the right side of the page to have another embellishment cluster that will kind of create a nice diagonal flow with the tag embellishment I just made. So now I'm on to making embellishment cluster number 2, which is a super cute bannery, like fishtail banner type embellishment that she did. And the one she made was a lot larger than the one I'm making, but I'm kind of adjusting it to this page and what I knew I kind of needed for that space. So it is going to be a lot different than kind of what she did. But I just decided to take a couple scraps I've already incorporated in the other cluster, which is that butterfly paper and that brown wood grain, and trim those scraps into fishtail banners. So I'm going to layer those up next to each other and have that as the base for my next cluster. And then again, I'm pretty much going to try and follow what I already did on the other cluster. I'm going to pull in an ephemera bit from my kit to the left there. And I decided to go with one of those black and white butterflies instead of a blue flower. I pull in another gold sticker from the word sticker sheet, and then add some gold brads. I think about using another charm, but at this point there's only 2 charms left on that sheet. I know you're seeing this page pretty early in the month because it is for Scrap 5, but at this point I think this is page like 7 I've done with this month, even though I think it's only the 3rd one you've seen, but I only have 2 of those Denise charms left at the point of making this page, so I didn't really feel like I had to try and shove all of them on here because I still have a couple more pages to do after this. So that's the only reason I decided not to add a charm in this smaller cluster. But once I kind of figure that out, I decide, okay, now that I have my idea for where my embellishments are going, I decided to shift the two photos and the big photo. I think it just flowed better. I already had my mixed media in the upper right hand corner and the lower left hand corner, so I think by flipping the photos, the embellishment clusters now follow the mixed media on the diagonal, and I like that better, so that's why I decided to flip-flop those. And now that I have that down, I'm going to start working on this little cluster again. It was such an easy way. It's like I did my photo layering and I got stuck, and then we did this little embellishment class, and then I finished my embellishment during the class, and then by the time I did that, my page was done. So it worked out really well. And then once I did shift the photos around, it kind of made an obvious little spot for where my title can go down next to that banner cluster. So I did just put the I love you down there underneath the vertical 4x6, which I think looks really nice. So just making my little cluster here. I'm kind of going off the screen so I can't see too much what I'm doing, but I'm thinking I'm putting the brads down at this point. That one came together. That one was a lot simpler of an embellishment cluster that I did at the top, but I really didn't think I needed to do anything too extravagant down there. There's already a lot of texture going on this page, so you really don't have to do too much. Because all these papers are just so cool, and I don't want anything to really detract from anything else. I did add another strip of that black and white butterfly washi as well, so that washi is in 2 spots. And I think at this point I've covered my scrap 5. I have my gold and white twine through the tag. I did my stencil through with the mixed media in the beginning. My grid design with these 3 photos, the 3 word title, and washi. So my scrap 5 is done. I just need to now finish the page, but it's pretty much done once I finish this embellishment cluster, which is nice. It's just kind of finishing touches here. I did just take both clusters off the layout to show them really quickly before I stuck them down, just because we were talking about what we had made so far during the class. So everyone worked really fast. I was really impressed. The 3rd embellishment cluster that she taught is the one that I haven't done yet, and everyone whipped that one up together. It looked so cute what everyone did. But we kind of had fun showing each other what embellishments we were making as we went. But after I showed them, I went ahead and popped them on the page. So the banners are down there, and then I'm sticking the tag up at the top. I do think I add a little bit more How You Swap Gold color shine to each of those clusters. I did do that on top of the mixed media, which I think was nice. I added an additional gold shimmer. And now I'm just adding my additional brads. Whatever brads were not on the handmade embellishment itself, I'm just going to add to the page around it just to fill up some more space and kind of make those brads more cohesive. So I'm adding 2 more up there by the tag and just 1 more down by the banner. And then I'm pretty much done after that. Close-ups will be here in a second, but make sure you check out everyone else playing along with Scrap 5. If you want to use the recipe, make sure to tag us with your creations on Instagram. It's #Scrap5. But here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.